Potentiality.
Potentiality.
Hello, welcome to the Bridged Project. My name is Fabiana Cerato. Today I have the pleasure to have with me here to debate this very important subject today, Cinthia, Alves, and Ricardo Zaslavsky.
Hi. Hello, good afternoon.
Welcome, Cinthia.
Good morning.
Or welcome. Good morning or good night. No, we don't know.
Yes. Welcome, Cinthia and Ricardo. They are 2 times special because they are my very good friends. So today we are going to have a very nice live. So I'm going to start presenting myself, explaining what is this broadcast about, and then I'll give the floor to Cinthia and Ricardo. So here we go. We are going to address in this project, in this The Bridged Researchers, we are going to address with Cinthia and Ricardo healthy conjugality, an evolutionary tool. So they are going to debate with us. They are going to talk about emotional regulations and healthy relationship. They are also going to explain and talk about emotions and intraconscientiality and many other very interesting points. It's just important to highlight that Isaac is the institution who promotes this project, who promotes this broadcast today. Isaac is the International Service for the Internationalization of Conscientiology, which is a non-profit organization. Isaac has the status of a pre-conscientiocentric institution, what we call pre-CI. And the Bridged Project is one of the projects that Isaac coordinates. And what is the Bridged Project? It's a project that has been created to bring together conscientiology researchers from all over the world in order to facilitate knowledge, exchange, and sharing of interassistential experiences. It's a free online talk which is held very frequently, mainly every first Sunday of the month, where the speakers now, like we have the instructor Cinthia and Ricardo, present a topic of self-research. Important to say and to talk a little bit about the principle of disbelief, which is the base of everything the instructors are going to address today, which is do not believe in anything, experiment, have your own experiences. And now I have the pleasure to present the instructors. Now, Cinthia Alves is a psychologist and master in psychology, specialized in systemic therapy and emotional focus on therapy with couples, families, and individuals. She's a conscientiology volunteer since 2011 and a instructor since 2013, and currently is a volunteer of IIPC, which is a conscientiocentric institution as well. She's an author of many articles and verbets from the Encyclopedia of Conscientiology. And Ricardo Zaslavsky is a physician, post-graduation in family medicine and community and couples and family therapy. Master degree in epidemiology, and conscientiology volunteer since 2004. He is a volunteer in Holoteca, and author also of verbetes and verbetes of Conscientiology Encyclopedia, chapters in books, and lectures in Congress. My name is Fabiana Cerato. I am an architect, a volunteer of Conscientiology as well, and a mother of 2 lovely daughters. Now I will have the pleasure to give the floor to the instructors. So please, Cinthia and Ricardo, feel free to address such an important subject. I'll be here for questions and debates with you guys.
Okay, thank you, Fafa.
Thank you, Fabiana.
A pleasure.
Well, at first we're gonna say about how we had the idea about this live today. During the end of July, I presented an article about the contributions of neuroscience to the consciential paradigm. So I say about a lot about emotions in this article and how it helps us in our self research here in conscientiology. And then I was talking to Fabiana, let's do something about the emotions and self research in English. And then I was thinking, wow, how about ask Ricardo to join us and we can talk about emotions in the context of conjugality and evolution in all kinds. And that's why we're here today. So we are two guinea pigs, a couple of guinea pigs. So we are not a perfect couple because perfection doesn't exist. So I have to say this. It's normal for us to fight. It's normal for us to make reconciliations. And it's normal in our relationship to talk about our emotions and what I think I did in a bad way or that maybe injured him and vice versa. And that's in a general way. Oh, sorry. That's what we are going to talk about here today.
Let me add something. In our experience as a couple, we understand that incorporating emotional aspects of individual life and couples life, it's quite important, and it helps us to grow as an individual and as a couple. So we don't usually neglect our emotions. We don't usually consider emotions as a non-protagonist of our lives. We consider emotion as a protagonist of our lives. And as I said, incorporating it into our daily life, it can bring us a lot of joy and growth for us.
Yes. And then we begin with this conjugality myths that is very common in our culture in a wide way. So the myth that since I met someone, then we are the best couple in the world. That's that person is what who I am meant to be for the whole life, and that we will be happily ever after. And no, conjugality is a construction that we have to deal every day with the real life, and real life brings some difficulties for us, some sad things, some joyful things, and how to manage this situation is how we grow together. To manage with this situation is how we grow together. It's how we can make our evolution happen. You want to say about?
Yes. Let me add something. In this first myth that Cinthia talked about for us, it's quite common in couples' life in the early weeks and months of the couple life to be passionate. Usually, it's a moment that there is no intimacy, at least not a consolidated intimacy, and there is quite a burden of idealization, mutual idealization. But as the time follows its rhythm, and if the couple consolidates themselves as a couple, it's quite common the couple to pass through a transition in which the passion normally reduces a while, and it starts intimacy. And when intimacy starts, it's the moment in which we start to realize the real one, the real people, the real me, and the real wife. And at this moment is the moment when we build a long-term relationship that will help us to thrive, to grow as a couple. So it's a problem when the couple wants to keep artificially that stage of passion. Not the passion doesn't have to disappear, but we have to acknowledge that it has some adaptations along time, and to accept these adaptations is quite healthy for us.
I think this is sensational, Cinthia and Ricardo, and this is the essence of, I think, what you guys are trying to explain here. And this is the essence of why the institution invites you to address such an important matter. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to continue?
Then another myth is the twin souls myth. Here, in conscientiology, sometimes this myth is known as the evolutionary couple. Turns on the myth, and I say the myth of evolutionary couple. It exists, evolutionary couple exists, but sometimes I think that the myth about this evolutionary couple is that we think that I will look to that person and the stars will be here and little hearts will pop here and oh, I found my person. Sometimes I cannot judge. For some people, maybe that's something like this, I don't know, but in my experience it's not like this. There is, of course, when I saw Ricardo, I like him. And then we started to meet, to know each other. But this construction we have every day in our basics life is the thing. Is the thing that will challenge what we think about what is a couple, what is an evolutionary couple. And if we think that, oh, now that we are together, we are twin souls, then we can't fight, then we can't disagree with each other, that's a really big problem, because I am a different person from him. We have different histories, we have different family cultures, and there is no way we will agree in everything. No way. And sometimes we have to agree in some things. That's why it's important to know that it's normal. It's normal to have disagreement. It's normal to be upset with each other sometimes. And that's why it's important to talk, and we'll talk about it later, the binomial admiration.
Disagreement.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Yes, can go.
I have a question from Marcelo. May you discuss the continual need for consciential recycling for both members of the couple?
Yes, that's. Thank you, Marcelo, for your question. That's exactly what Cinthia was talking about just now. The fact that there is no such thing as two equal persons. And these two non-equal persons, they decide to consolidate as a couple, they have to negotiate all the time. And negotiation in a couple context, it's not a mental somatic skill. We will talk about it a little bit, 3 or 4 slides after. It's a holosomatic skill. So as a couple, during our time together, we always find out and discover things that we didn't know about our partner. It's an illusion to think that after 2 or 3 or 5 years, we know all the consciousness. This is just beside me. We always know new things about her. And when we know new things about her or her about me, somehow all these new things that we know establish a dialogue with our values, our habits, and the consciousness that we are. So somehow we have to decide if we are going to accept this new input or not accept. If we accept, okay. But if we don't accept, that's the moment where the negotiation starts. When we talk about it, when I leave this new part of her enter inside me, and then if we debate, if we argue, and then we reach a common ground, to reach a common ground after a couple's negotiation is the moment where the consensual recycling makes a good result in the couple's dynamics. I hope I made myself clear. If I did not, we can debate after.
Yes, and talking about this consensual recycling, we will get to situations where my emotions will be triggered, and it's good. It's very good, because if everything is stable is death. Where there is retinilian line, let me say like this, there is no life here. Life is made of these oscillations.
Curves,
yes, emotional oscillations, day and night, cold and warm. So life is like that. And when we get to a situation where my emotions are triggered, I have a big opportunity to know me more, and then to know what am I feeling, what kind of thinkings do I have when I have these feelings, what do I want to do now in an automatic way. But now that I'm perceiving this, what can I do? What decision can I make to do with what I am feeling? And we'll have some examples soon. Do you want to talk about the other one, father husband?
We have a third myth that is related with the traditional roles of man and woman in Western society. And I like to start talking about it, making a question to everybody who is watching us, do you think that it's possible that the traditional man and woman roles in Western society, are they compatible with existential program? And when I say existential program, I mean to plan during the intermissive period to make something and to make one and more important existential tasks during this intraphysical life. Is it compatible? Our understanding is that is not, because let's analyze the case of a woman, traditional role of a woman. A woman that does not work, it can have or have not kids, it doesn't matter, but a woman that doesn't work, that only manages home, and the husband, the man, has to leave their home to work and bring money, their sustainability home. If it happens, what is the possibility of this woman to defend her own verbiage, or to make the appropriate contacts, to make the appropriate recycling, and to make the appropriate assistance that she planned during the intermissive course, if she will only stay at home working and managing home? It's very unlikely that a woman is only staying at home will meet the items of its existential program. It's very unlikely, because their contacts, interconsciential contacts, will be very restricted. So one of the myths that we would like to debate with you is the myth of keeping the traditional roles of man and woman. This is a myth. It possibly can bring some happiness at some moment, but if the person's made an intermissive course, it's very likely that it will bring some anxiety, some depression, and some feeling of not accomplishing the planned tasks.
Yes, and why we are saying this? Because we are inside our culture that was made from this vision that Ricardo brought now. And sometimes we can have this kind of mistakes. And it's useful and important for us to make ourselves questions. Am I thinking like an intermissivist? If I think I am an intermissivist, am I thinking like an intermissivist should think in the way that is this evolutionary, or this kind of thinking that I'm having, is it I forgot the word in English. Is it a common thought about people usually have about female and male roles? And we always debate about we can have our emotions. Ricardo is man. In our society, a man usually cannot cry, but here we are both free to cry when we feel to do, when we are sad. That's the kind of thing that I was trying to say right now. That we can, yes, we have permission to feel because we are intraphysical conscientialities. And as we have a body, we have emotions, and we have to feel free in a relationship to feel what we feel and not to think, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this. This is wrong for me to feel. I will try not to feel that. We have to have a good communication and to tell each other what we are feeling. I have some examples. One of them is this week I was feeling bad because of a stressful meeting I had. And I was with no patience that day. And Ricardo was always calling me, Cinthia, please come here. And I was, and then I realized, whoa, I am stressed. I have to tell him because he's calling me so much. And I will fight with him soon if I don't let him know that I am stressed now. And so you see, I have to look at me, to look at myself, to see what I'm feeling, to sometimes give name to what I feel, and to communicate to the other person. Ricardo, now I am not feeling good. I am very stressed about this stressful meeting I had today. Please, can you just give me a little time, do your things, then I will see it. And let me be alone right now I was making dinner. Let me make our dinner here to think, be with myself, and then I will see this with you.
So in terms of that myth, just before Fabiana makes her intervention, just to conclude the idea, it's possible, it's a possibility, a hypothesis that for men and women to fulfill, to reach the objectives, the goals of the existential program, it's possible that man has to take some of the women's traditional role, and women's take some of men's traditional role. And we gave the examples. For example, man to recognize its own emotions and express its own emotions. It helps us to develop ourselves, to make self-assistance and hetero-assistance. And on the other hand, women becoming more pragmatical, more objective, more practical, and having a life outside home, it also helps her to reach the goals of intermissive course.
Very
Fabiana.
good. Yes, I was thinking exactly about this. How great it would be if every couple could do that, could express what and how and when they are feeling. This is, as far as I could understand from what you've been discussing, this changes everything completely in the relationship.
Yes, and we are going to talk about emotional regulation and emotional deregulation. In this example that I gave, I will say what was my emotional deregulation and what helped me to regulate or co-regulate with Ricardo. I will tell it at soon. Is it okay with this slide?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the next one. And now, what is emotion regulation? It's the ability of an individual to modulate an emotion or set of emotions. What is an explicit emotion regulation? It requires conscious monitoring using techniques such as learning to construe situations differently in order to manage them better, changing the target of an emotion, example, anger, in a way likely to produce a more positive outcome, and recognizing how different behaviors can be used in the service of a given emotional state. In this example that I gave, when I monitored myself and I saw that whoa, I am stressed right now, and I was feeling irritated. I was this way, and then whoa, I am pissed off. So I monitored myself. And then I could change my way of expressing, because I could just say, "Oh, back off, Ricardo, leave me alone." Oh. But when I realized I was impatient, I recognized how I could do it differently by saying, "Oh, yes, I'm not feeling good today. I have to let Ricardo know that." So I had a different behavior than just, "Oh, back off, leave me alone."
May I comment something? One important aspect of what Cinthia is bringing is that emotional regulation is not the same as saying no to emotions, or saying it's enough for emotions. It's not the same. Sometimes in the conscienciological context sometimes in other contexts also, people sometimes broadcast some techniques or some possibilities that when you're feeling an emotional state, you should say no. You should say no for that to keep the rationality. But as a matter of fact, when we say no to emotion, this is an emotional attitude. This is not a rational attitude. To say no to emotions is to deny emotions, and to deny emotions, it's the impossibility of managing that emotional state that we are experiencing. And regulate emotions, like Cinthia is saying, it's the possibility of having an emotional state, recognizing the emotional state, think about the emotional state, and make a decision about what will be the manifestation of my response. And that is absolutely different of saying no to emotions.
It's very important. I was going to ask you exactly that difference, no, about, so say no, if I understood, is just not wanting to feel, right? Just blocking.
Yes. To say no, it's to neglect the emotional aspects of our life. And it's different from regulate the emotions. Regulate emotions is to accept the emotional aspects of our life and incorporate the emotional aspects of our life in our daily life. And to say no, or to say enough for an emotional state, it's to take it off our daily life, which is actually impossible.
And then implicit emotion regulation operates without deliberate monitoring. It modulates the intensity or duration of an emotional response without the need for awareness. And emotion regulation typically increases across the lifespan. And there is a phrase here: we don't expect a child to run before they walk. So we can't expect a child to self-regulate if they can't regulate with assistance. We brought this phrase here because we learn or we don't learn how to regulate our emotions in our family when we are a child and we are learning to walk. It should be as normal. Emotion regulation should be a thing that we learn from our parents as normal as we learn how to walk. But we live in a society where we don't have emotional classes. And what would be an emotional class? When the kid is, oh, I want this a chocolate, and the mother say, no, I won't give you a chocolate. This is the learning opportunity for the mother to help that child to name what is that emotion and to know that it's normal and that it's okay to feel that way. Okay, I see that you are angry with me because I am not gonna buy this chocolate. I can't buy this chocolate right now. I see you're crying. I see you are yelling at me, and that's okay. That's okay to feel frustrated. Uh, the same way, I can't buy this chocolate. It's not because you're crying that I will buy this chocolate because I can't right now. But I see what you're feeling. That's okay to feel that way. And this is how the mother is helping the child to co-regulate her own emotion. And when we learn to regulate our emotions, we became adults that can regulate ourselves. But that's not a problem if we, oh, but I had a terrible infance. I didn't, my father, my mother, or whatever, didn't help me to deal with my emotions. I don't know how to say, I don't know what I am feeling. I don't know how to name my feelings. But that's not a problem. We can learn all the time. And doing this in couple is a big opportunity for our evolution, for our intraconscientiality, for increase our level of intraconscientiality. Sorry, I was gonna say something. I think I forgot. Do you wanna?
I was going to comment something about you, then maybe you remember after them. And
May I ask a question?
Yes.
We address, it's important for people who are arriving here now and will see your broadcast later, that we address this broadcast and those subjects under the panoramic view of the studying of the consciousness. And when we study consciousness, as you mentioned holosoma, you mentioned proaxis, we study more than intraphysical life. You guys brought the word that you call intermissive course. Could you address just a little bit for people who are arriving here? What's the meaning of intermissive course?
Yes. Well, intermission, just to start, let's start for intermission. Intermission is the period of time during two intraphysical lives. After the person die of a past intraphysical life and before it is born in the next physical life. That's the intermissive period or intermission. Well, what does this person do during the intermission? Many possibilities, but for the people who are already connected with the evolutionary process, with the process of helping and make assistance for other consciousness that we have brought some damage in last lives, in other lives in our multi-existential cycle, the person starts to be interested in helping all those people that she caused damage, and maybe some other, maybe even another consciousness that it hasn't even been in touch in past lives. So to become more capable of doing this assistance in intraphysical period, some people can engage in courses, some courses that prepare the consciousness to reborn and to make all this recycling, intraconsciential recycling process and assistance process. It's not everybody who goes to this course for the person go to how can I say frequentar, to study on this course, to study on these courses. The person has to have accumulated reflections and self-criticism, and must have made some amount of intraconsciential recycling, enough to be eligible to be a part of this course. That's the intermissive course.
Thank you.
If you want to add something, Fabiana.
No, that's just the important information for people who are arriving now. Thank you.
Okay, I was going to comment something about Cinthia, but then I had to explain that, and then I forgot to.
It will come back.
Together.
It will come back until the end.
Yes, because I was talking about how we can learn to regulate during our adulthood.
Okay, I remember the verb to validate. You didn't say validate, but I remember the validation.
Oh, yes. Because how do I regulate myself when I...
Remembered. You can complete, please.
Yes. No, you can go, because now I
okay. I was thinking when Cinthia was speaking about regulation that for the conscienciology researchers that are listening to us now, and maybe some of you are trying to decide what is a good and legitimate object of self-research. So if you haven't already decided all your topics to be self-researched, the emotional self-research is a good and appropriate topic to be researched, to understand a little bit more about your emotional life, about how do you react emotionally to the many kinds of situations in your life, to take note of your emotional reactions, to take note of your thoughts during emotional states, to debate with people around you that lives around you. How do you feel and how them feel, and the way that their feeling reflects on you and the way that your feelings reflects on the other people. So I'd like to invite you, if you haven't already decided all your self-research themes, to consider emotional self-research.
Yes, that's good. And then, so I think we are done here. We can go to the next slide. And when we say about emotional regulation, what is it? When we are capable to step back and rethink our situations. So when I'm feeling emotionally regulated, I feel fine. I can think about past situations and decide, oh, that went well, that didn't went well. The next time I can do it better. We can use breathing exercises to get to emotional regulation. We can take time and return to talk with each other when we are calm. So maybe in a fight, we are emotionally deregulated. So we can take a time, both can breathe a little, and then return to talk when calm. Another sign of emotional regulation is that we can calm our strong emotions and then have healthy conversations. Because when we have important conversations with important persons, feeling strong emotions, we are just reacting. We just react to that emotion in an automatic way, and then we get to a negative cycle, and it only gets worse. So to calm our emotions and then have conversations that can help us have clear and peaceful communication. And in this example I gave, just to realize that I was stressed and I was about to fight with Ricardo if I didn't say something for him, and he kept calling me just to realize that I was, whoa, yes, that's why I'm so irritated. And then I could come to Ricardo and say, Ricardo, I am very irritated now because of that stressful meeting I had. Please don't, please do it alone. Don't call me for a few minutes from now. And then when he say, okay, sorry for that, that's okay. You can be alone with yourself and with your emotions, and then you come here. Oof, I was regulated. I became regulated because I could say what I was feeling, and he received it well. He said, yes, okay, don't worry. But even if he wasn't feeling good with that, even if Ricardo was feeling, oh no, she should stay here and help me, he could have said that. Cinthia, I will be a little angry if you can't stay here with me right now. And then you would have to sit, whoa, we have a problem here. But then the problem is right in front of us. It's there.
I have a question about this. Cinthia and Ricardo, why I am liking too a lot your presentation, but my question is why it's so difficult for people to talk and address emotions? Because we'd rather sometimes fight than just say, I'm not feeling well.
Mm-hmm.
Fabiana, that's the $1 million question.
Yes.
That's a very complex answer.
But we have some ideas.
Yeah, we have some ideas. One possibility is that culturally, at least in Western world, emotions were usually not given the proper value for emotions. Emotions had to be restricted and repressed. So culturally, maybe religiously, and maybe in the family context, we are more used to, I will say metaphorically, to swallow our emotions than to express. So one possible answer for your question is that culturally we are used to swallow the emotions instead of expressing it. So to start to consider expressing a little bit more the emotions, we enter in a transition state in which we understand the necessity and the importance of expressing emotions, but on the other hand, we still live the old paradigm in which emotions should not be stressed. So this confusion, which is a result of two different paradigms mixed, it brings us emotions. It's emotional situation. So that's one idea about it.
Yes. We can think that we didn't learn to do this when child. We learned to swallow, or we learned that I have to fight all the time, otherwise I won't be heard. So we can have learned lots of things that today blocks us from doing this, to show what we are feeling, to say about what we are feeling. I was remembering about the diálogo de inibição.
Dialogue,
Disinhibition. Yes.
Possibly.
Yes, I was thinking, how can we dialogue in a disinhibited way? Sorry for this English people.
Disinhibited.
Yes. This is not easy. We have to be aware from the present moment. So if I am in a relationship with anyone, it's not only in a couple. If I am in a relationship and I am not aware of the present, of the here and now, I will react to what I am feeling. And maybe I will fight instead of realizing what I'm feeling and talking about it and communicating it to the other person. Fafa was asking, and if I prefer to argue, and if I prefer to fight, it's a conditioning behavior. Maybe during the lifetime of this person, it was what functioned for her, for him, for they. And then that's why somebody asked about the intraconsciential recycling, because we will learn, we have to perceive ourselves, to have this awareness in the present moment, and to accept what I find here instead of judging my feelings. And then it will help us to have a better self-understanding. And that will help the person to know, for example, why do I prefer to fight instead of perceive myself and communicate this to the other person. I don't know if I was clear. I hope so.
Okay.
Fabiana, can you put the slide again?
Yes.
I have some example. The fifth item of emotional regulation. I have an example which is appearing insistently in my head, but it's not a couple example, but it can illustrate a clear and peaceful communication. I don't know if I can give an example that a little bit off.
Yes.
Okay, I'll go. I'm a family doctor, and I have a lot of patients who are children, and they come to the consultations with their parents. And sometimes parents think that the children has to take antibiotics. It's their opinion. They think it will be good for the children to take antibiotics. But after my medical evaluation, I don't think that's the case. I don't think they have to take antibiotics. So it creates a situation in which the doctor thinks that antibiotic is not necessary, and the parents think it is. How do they dialogue with that? Usually, for colleagues, physicians that are not don't give the proper importance to clinical communication, usually that's the moment of the fight, because the family wants something, the doctor doesn't want to give, and they fight. And usually there are complaints after that. But when, as a doctor, we try to understand the reason why the parents want antibiotics, and maybe the reason is not a proper reason, and then we can welcome to their beliefs and their thoughts and the reason why they think antibiotic is necessary. And then I can clarify that those reasons are not proper for the health of that children. I almost never have to deal with a situation of a fight in this context. Never. I think the last time that I had a situation of a fight, it was many, many years ago. I can't even remember. Why? That's the reason, because I can welcome the fears of the parents, and I can talk with them about their fears. So this is a clear and peaceful communication that, and one criteria for us to have an emotional regulation, especially if we are in a dialogue with another person, is that we feel that the other person is a safe person for us to share our frailties, our vulnerabilities. If we understand that the other person is a safe person, we can open our emotional world, and we know that we are going to be validated, we are going to be recognized. Our emotion will not be considered something less or something not important. And then that's the main criteria for us to be able to talk about emotions. I have a couple of examples to me. I don't know about our time, if we have time for that. Or
not much, because we are
much.
almost between 10-15 minutes closer
For
to the end.
Okay, let's follow, and then maybe in the debate we give couples example.
Okay.
We have a lot.
On the other hand, we have the signs of emotional deregulation, that when we feel overly intense emotions, we have impulsive behavior like I want to fight, We have the lack of emotional awareness. These times when we want to fight, it's when we are less aware of ourselves. Then we have trouble making decisions. We usually make worse decisions. We have an ability to manage our behavior, and that's when sometimes we think after the fight, oh, I did that again. Why? I promised myself never to do this again. But when we are emotionally deregulated, yes, we have the same automatic behaviors as always. That's why it's important to be aware of our feelings in the present moment. And we usually avoid difficult emotions. When I don't know how to manage my emotions, I will try not to feel. That's what Ricardo said earlier today. You want to say about that? So.
One important aspect in the couple's life is the conscienciological concept of binomial admiration disagreement. What is exactly this binomial? Let's take first the admiration. Admiration is a term that refers to the fact that sometimes people in the couple, they think very look-alike. They think similar about many aspects of their lives and the world. They recognize mutually recognize the strong traits. They can talk to each other a lot of things during free time. So it refers to all those aspects that both of the members of the couple has equally or at least similar. That there is a resonance between the members of the couple in many aspects of their lives. But on the other hand, as we said in the myth, there is no such thing as two equal persons. There is no such thing. So in many aspects, in the same way that we agree and we think similar, in many aspects we disagree and we don't think similar. So and when we disagree and don't think similar, but all those aspects that are being debated are important for the couple's daily life, we have to debate about it. We have to negotiate about it. So it's important for the couple that we both recognize mutually that the same person that I admire is the same person that I disagree. That's important because if we think historically, that instinctive way of thinking and way of living, there is only two kinds of people. The one that I agree, and it's my group, and it's my friends, and the one that I disagree, that it's not my group, that it's my enemy. My friends, I have to help to live, I live together with them, and my enemies, I have to kill and keep them away. That's the instinctive way of thinking, that's the instinctive way of being. But the binomial admiration disagreement, it's a concept that breaks this instinctive way of thinking and being, because it helps us to recognize that the same person that I love is the person that sometimes I disagree. Is the same person that travels with me during our vacation period, is the same person that does something that makes me sad. So to recognize that helps us to break the instinctive way of life, but also helps, and for this reason, it helps us to consolidate more ourselves as a couple. And this binomial admiration disagreement, it can happen to us, it appears in many aspects of our lives. May I pass next? Do you want to make some comments?
Later, I want to make some
Okay.
comment. Can we see the slides
Fabiana,
again?
can you put the slides again? So, the admiration disagreement binomial, it can appear in our lives, in our daily life behaviors, and in our habits. And I have to say something earlier before that. When a couple forms themselves, when they get married, and get married is not necessarily get married in a religious way. It's not that. It's the decision of living, have a life together, living in the same place. The marriage is not only a marriage of two persons. it's a marriage of two families and maybe two cultures, because we both are representatives of our families and our cultures. So it's very common during this life together, many moments of adaptations, of negotiations, of limits and possibilities. So I'll give an example. I won't give the full example because of our time, but we can debate after that. I come from a family which is much more with less extroversion, with more introversion behaviors. And Cinthia comes from a family with more extroversion and behaviors like that. So when we decided to make a couple, many aspects of our life, moments in which I decided to come inside of me, read a book, think about myself, and Cinthia wanted to talk, or Cinthia wanted to make something outside home. And just to give some simple examples, it was very common in our life. It still is, but in early years of our relationship, it was very, very common. And that was the moment in which we have to talk about it, to talk about those limits, to talk about these desires, to talk about this normal behavior, which was normal for her, and it was not that normal for me, and vice versa. So that's a negotiation. And negotiation is the consequence of putting binomial admiration disagreement into practice. And that's the reason why in this setting of couple setting, negotiation is not a mental somatic skill. Because when we think about negotiation, we think about a work, managing an industry or a company negotiations to try to reduce the price of some product. That's maybe a more mental somatic negotiation. But when we have a couple negotiating limits and negotiating a construction of one life, that is the third option. It's not the imitation of one person's family life and not the other person's family life. The construction of a couple is the third family that is emerging from two other families. So this negotiation of this construction of this new family and this couple, it's a negotiation that demands emotional recognition. It's not a negotiation that happens only with mental soma and only with rationality. That's the reason why negotiation, it's a concept that in couples context is not mental somatic. Let's go to the other slide. It also happens in the important projects of life. For example, when a couple decide, which was our case, decide to build a house. To build a house is a moment where many aspects of our family or original family life emerges in our couple's life. And all the time we had to negotiate desires and thoughts and feelings about how our house was going to be. And that's, again, a negotiation with emotional content, important emotional content. And the other figure on the right, it's the decision to have or not having kids, which was something that we as a couple were engaged also. And that's a moment where many personal emotional aspects emerge during our couple life, and we have to deal and negotiate and welcome to the anxieties of the other, and she welcomes to my anxieties. And that is also a moment where negotiation emotions are together. And in the end, I think it's one of our last slides. It's a moment with life crisis also. How each one of us learned to manage a life crisis. The style that I've learned in my family to manage life crisis was different from the style that Cinthia learned how to manage life crisis. So that's another aspect in which we had to learn how each one managed. We had to not making judgments about the way of each one manage life crisis, or putting in other words, not considering that my way is the correct and her way is the wrong, or vice versa, but to welcome her and my styles of dealing with crisis. That's also a moment we have the binomial admiration disagreement, and also a moment with a negotiation with emotional aspects that has the potentiality to help us as a couple, had the potentiality to help us as a couple to thrive and to grow.
No.
No?
Can I?
Yes.
Before our final considerations, I wanted to talk about this figure on the right. Rupture is inevitable, repair takes work. Because when it comes to human relationships, rupture is inevitable. It's common to happen. And it's not that a successful couple doesn't have rupture. They have rupture, but they also can repair these ruptures. We are together for 12 years, and we had many ruptures, some worse than others. But at the end, we are still together and still learning with each other, because we were able to make repair. We were able to repair what was wrong between us. And it is necessary to have awareness to, in the present moment, what I am feeling, what the other person is showing, what does that mean, to talk about it. What does that mean? What does problem mean? Can we manage this topic? How can we surpass this situation, this difficulty? And I just wanted to say that, because sometimes when we're talking about emotions and couples, and I work with couples and I like it very much, but sometimes we get the wrong idea that we can never we can never hurt each other. But it's normal in every relationship for us to hurt each other, even when we don't want to. But dealing with this with openness, with I don't know, to stay open to what is happening, to talk and to try to find a solution together. So I wanted to talk about it before going to the final considerations. So, do you want to?
No.
A healthy relationship is an evolutionary tool, because it means that both partners will bring difficult emotions onto another. And it's a huge opportunity to improve the access to our intraconscientiality and to increase our self-knowledge. Also, because it leads us, it leads us to situations where both partners can help each other to regulate the emotions. What is the emotion co-regulation? And it's one more way to make new and crucial recycling, yes, intraconsciential recycling, like Marcelo asked before. Do you want to say something more? I was thinking about something and I forgot.
I have 10 questions, but I am going to ask only one.
No.
I like it very much. This path that you built. First, because I'm an architect, and second, because I really consider that a threshold that changed everything in terms of relationship. My question is the relationship between personal boundaries, personal limits, and the commitment that you assume, among you two. The correlation between personal boundaries and the commitment. If you guys could address a little bit more about it, and then we are arriving to the conclusion.
Personal boundaries and commitment. let me say something. When we are engaged, when we understand the importance of expanding our personal boundaries, and when I say understand, I don't say only understand mental somatically. I say understand holosomatically, because the act of consciously expand boundaries, it's a holosomatic act. It's not only mental somatic, because to expand our boundaries, it's something that it's important to think about it, but it's also important to feel the process. It's important to understand the energetic and somatic repercussions. So to engage in a healthy relationship, it's at the same time, automatically, it's to engage in a situation in which you are prone to expand your own boundaries. And to expand your own boundaries means that you will incorporate part of that culture, that their culture and the way of life that the other person brings when we form a couple. When I incorporate these aspects that the other person brings to me, automatically it challenges my way of thinking and my way of being. It put it into challenge. And if I am able to deal with that, I can challenge, and maybe sometime I can overcome my own traditional way of being that I've learned on my family and my culture. So if we decide to make a couple and consciously decide to let it enter some aspects of the other person in our life, it will be a very happy situation, a very thriving situation, and especially consciously thriving, because it's a decision that we made to grow together. It's a complex question. I don't know if I've answered. Maybe theoretically I've answered.
Another way of thinking.
Fabiana, you are mute.
I said you did explain very well the correlationship between this role commitment and the personal boundaries. Cinthia?
Yes, when it comes to personal boundaries, I was thinking that also emotions are signals. They are signaling something for us. Like if when our stomach makes boo boo boo, it's a sign that I am hungry. So when I am feeling anger or sad or afraid, for example, it's a signal that I can hear. I can look to this signal. And sometimes anger is an emotion that is trying to show us that some of our limits maybe were trespassed for the other person. So if I am angry with Ricardo because he was calling me so many times, because I had a limit that I was trespassing. I wasn't feeling good. I wanted to stay alone, but he called me and I went to talk to him. And I was getting angry. There was a sign that, whoa, I have to be alone now. I need to be a little alone. I need to be alone a little more now. So adding to this question, I would say this: emotions are signs, and when we see emotions like a sign, we de-dramatize it and we depathologize it.
And the best thing, or at least a goal for us, is an emotion. At the first moment, it's a sensation. It's something that we feel. But the possibility of putting into practice binomial admiration disagreement, it's when we make effort to convert a sensation in a speech. The possibility of doing that, it's a possibility that brings us as a couple a lot of growth. Because if we stay only in the sensation, we explode. We have some attitudinal acts. We have behaviors. Sometimes we lose our control. But if we are engaged in making the linguistic translation of the sensation, that's the possibility of having an open dialogue, an open binomial admiration disagreement in the context of the couple.
Very good. Excellent answer. Well, really, we are arriving to the end, to our conclusion. For people who are arriving late, please feel free to, in the future, send an email or ask any more questions. Ricardo and Cinthia, they addressed very important aspects of the healthy conjugality. I will place the slides once more, 1 second, so then you can talk about the books. And then any more questions or comments, feel free.
Okay. These are some books where you can find some theoretical and some practical exercise to do. These two first
Books on the left.
these 2 books on the left, Attached and Hold Me Tight, are theoretical books, and it helps with bringing the attachment theory. It's very good to know to this attachment theory. It's related to our emotions stuffs, and the other 2 on the right are books where you can have you can make the exercises with your partner to, or alone or with your partner, to know what kind of attachment do you have and to make your relationship better. We did an workshop some few years ago related to this attachment theory, and it's very helpful. Another thing, we would like to leave here our email if you want to make some contact with us. But before saying goodbye, I would like to thank for Isaac. Thank you very much, Fabiana, for having us here, for helping us here in this process. Thank you, everybody who is here.
Thank you, you guys. It was great. I just want to summarize some phrases and expressions you brought us. No, so you talk about the change of roles. You talk about the admiration, disagreement, emotional and managing emotional together, emotional awareness, healthy conversation, emotional communication, personal boundaries, personal limits, and commitments. So really, and much more also. Really, thank you very much for being here. I hope our institution and myself can see you again once more. It's really, really deep and difficult subject, and very challenging. All the conviviality, the coexistence. So it was great hearing your experience. Thank you once again, and thank you all for being here, participating with us in the chat as well. So it was a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye, guys.